shutdowns are common in Kashmir. And on 27th of August, when Srinagar and other cities saw a spontaneous shutdown in parts of the valley, not many knew why. The Hurriyat's call for a Bandh on the 27th had been withdrawn. But when protests and clashes broke out in areas like Anantnag, the reason emerged. This outcry in the restive state of Jammu and Kashmir was to protect and preserve an article of the Constitution of India. Article 35A of the Indian Constitution is a provision that allows the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly to define who is a permanent resident of the state, a privilege enjoyed by no other state in India. Only the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly can change the definition of PR, the permanent resident, through a law ratified by a 2/3 majority. And the special status that allows this provision was brought in by a presidential order in 1954. The order came almost 7 years after Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India. In August 1947, when India and Pakistan became independent, Maharaja Hari Singh of Jammu and Kashmir was toying with the idea of remaining an independent state and chose not to cede to either dominion. But an organized tribal Pashtun raid on the state, fielded by the newly formed Pakistan, left the Dogra king with no option but to send out a letter to India.
So there was an agreement between the Maharaja, the monarch of Jammu and Kashmir, and the Union of India way back in 1947. And Dr. Karan Singh recently said in the parliament that J&K state did not merge into the Indian Union. It ceded only 3 subjects to the Union government and retained the rest of it. That's external sovereignty was ceded, surrendered, but internal sovereignty was retained by the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir.
The instrument of accession gave India control over defence, communication and foreign affairs. And while all the other princely states, that's more than 550 in number, that eventually merged their identity into the Union of India, Jammu and Kashmir did not.
They said that we are acceding only on the condition that the writ of the Government of India will run only as far as the issues of foreign affairs, defence, currency, etc. are concerned. So far as the rest of issues are concerned, those would be determined by the state itself and its legislature.
But by January 1950, when the Indian Constitution came into effect, it treated Kashmir as part of the Indian Union. However, the Indian Constitution guaranteed the state a certain autonomy, and thus was born Article 370 that gave the state its special status. And one of them was the continuance of the Jammu and Kashmir Constitution. Later in 1952, Prime Minister Nehru of India and the Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Sheikh Abdullah, entered into the Delhi Agreement, whereby it was agreed that Jammu and Kashmir would have full power over subjects other than those acceded under the instrument of accession. And Article 35A was a product of that Delhi Agreement. It enabled the Jammu and Kashmir legislature to define permanent residents and provide them with special privileges.
agreement is unilaterally being broken and they are taking the judicial route. That is the understanding among people of Kashmir. They see it as breach of faith, and which you call Vishwasgat in Hindi. So that's the understanding here.
A person who's been born here is a Kashmiri. A person who has an ancestral lineage is a Kashmiri. A person whose history, whose ancestry resonates with the values of Kashmir is a Kashmiri.
35 ये जो है जो जम्मू के हित में नहीं है. मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि इसको तत्काल ख़त्म करना चाहिए.
अगर आर्टिकल 35 एबॉलिश कर देंगे तो बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम्स फेस होंगे लद्दाख के लोगों को और इवन जैन के लोगों को भी बहुत सारे फेस होंगे.
35A, it is the only bridge that is keeping India connected with Kashmir.
I think we are not a part of India anymore because there are more restrictions here.
After all, we are part and parcel. Article 370 itself says we are integral part of our constitution. Section 3 of J&K constitution itself admits this position.
हम इसे यहीं समाप्त करना चाहते हैं ताकि अपने जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट है वो अपना एक इनिशिएटिव ले और वो स्टेट को एक अभिन्न पार्ट अपना जो है एक अभिन्न अंग बताए और कंसीडर करके और उसे जो है अपने पूरे 100% दे के इसको डेवलप करने की ट्राई करे.
People of Kashmir are very emotionally attached with it and they feel it's very sacred to them. They will not allow anybody to touch with 35A. That is the reason that most of the people are on roads today.
Why can't we take it in a positive side, that it connects the Kashmir with the whole of India?
In 2018, the special provision is once again being questioned, and that has reignited the debate about the special status enjoyed by Jammu and Kashmir by virtue of Article 370.
Since the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India was itself conditional on this, therefore it is implicit in that the restrictions under the Constitution, whether they are of fundamental rights or anything else, will also not apply to the laws made by the state which are within the domain of the state.
Now a bunch of petitions, including one filed by an NGO considered to be an RSS front, has challenged the validity of Article 35A of the Constitution, and that is being taken up by a Supreme Court bench. The Delhi-based NGO We the Citizens in its petition argued that Article 35A goes against the very spirit of oneness of India, as it creates a class within a class of Indian citizens. Another petition filed by lawyer Charuvali Khanna claims Article 35A discriminates against a woman's right to property.
There is a fundamental right to reside anywhere in the country, to practice any profession. Therefore, any citizen should be able to go and reside in Jammu and Kashmir and practice any profession, including agriculture there. Similarly, you can't discriminate against women. So therefore, any law which says that a woman who marries outside loses a right to own property in Kashmir, that can also be challenged on the ground of discrimination. But the point is that since the accession of Kashmir itself, so if it is violative of the provisions of the J&K Constitution, it can certainly be challenged. But it can't be challenged on the ground that it violates the Indian Constitution.
This is just a political gimmick that they are doing to probably win the hearts of their people by claiming Kashmir in their next elections. But that's not going to happen because we're not something that you can acquire now. We are our own entity, we are our own people, and we have our own rights. Surprisingly, your Constitution's one article guarantees us that, and let's see what you do to that.
What will it really achieve? So I feel that apprehensions on the removal of Article 370 are not
not necessarily founded on the possibility of people coming and settling down and overtaking over the land in Kashmir particularly. But it has a lot to do with sensitivity. The Kashmiris feel that this was a commitment on the basis of which they had, in return for their having acceded to India. And if it is unilaterally then dispensed with by a legal proviso or even a legal action by the government of India, that is going to cause a great deal of resentment. It is already causing resentment. The fact that it is being considered is causing resentment.
The articles have been sensitive issue for the people of Kashmir, and now the recent flush of protests in support of maintaining Article 35A have pulled down barriers. This time, even the political parties are up in arms to defend this special provision, claiming that if it is diluted or removed, it will alter the demography of India's only Muslim majority state, because it would allow people from outside Jammu and Kashmir to acquire property in the state and thus grant the right to vote as Kashmiris.
Let me share something with you. कि 35A के साथ छेड़छाड़ हमारी पार्टीज जो वहां नेशनल फ्लैग को लेके खड़े होते हैं, सारे रिस्क के बावजूद हमारे वर्कर्स, इनके भी हजारों की तादाद मारे गए, हमारे भी मारे जाते हैं, तो मैं ये बताने में मुझे कोई गुरेज नहीं है कि उस झंडे को कांधा देने वाला कोई नहीं होगा.
As far as conspiracy is concerned, you all know that the agenda of BJP and RSS is basically to erode the autonomous structure of this state. That is what their plan is. And we, as a united front, are going to bring this to the people so that they know the fallout from this, what is going to happen.
Article 35A was added to Article 370 by a presidential order in 1954. It empowers the state legislature to define the state's permanent residents and give them special rights. The article disallows people from outside the state from buying or owning immovable property and forbids the J&K government from hiring people who are non-permanent residents. And it protects Jammu and Kashmir laws from being challenged.
Article 35A creates a wedge between the citizen of India and citizen of the state of J&K. It deprives our own daughters. The daughter who is married outside the state, she has a right to inherit, not thereafter. Her children will be deprived of the property, and ultimately it has to escheat to the state.
Nobody cares about that state more than I do. But then when I look back and think, do I have a future there? Can I actually think of going back? Can I think of contributing to that state? Well, even if I want to, I cannot, because there is a legal restriction. I can only go there as a guest now, which is a very painful feeling, but I was born there, it's my hometown, and I certainly have the right to possess property there. I certainly have the right to go and work there. I certainly have a right to contribute to that state in whatever way I can. But, I feel very estranged now because I've been told by the law that I don't belong to that state anymore.
It's fair on women. I think it's highly unfair. But being a Kashmiri woman, the property is the least of my concerns right now. That's the least thing that is being unfair to me. There are other of things that are not just unfair but violative of my rights.
Question, I do agree that requires that is feminine, that is a sexist clause in that article, and I don't think that the Kashmiris would have any grave apprehensions if that part was amended, but it is really for the Kashmiris to decide.
While separatists claimed the case on Article 35A is a part of BJP-RSS plan to change the demography of the state, they claim the central government, through its proxies, is dragging Article 35A and other related provisions to the Supreme Court in order to implement its own agenda. And so, a nervous population in the valley clashed.
The petition on Article 35A was actually being heard on 27th of August, but the Supreme Court decided to defer the matter. And that's why a shutdown call which was given by the separatist leaders on this issue was also taken back. However, on the same day in the morning, a news flash came saying that Article 35A and its petition was once again being heard by the Supreme Court. It was a new petition, but the people thought that this was some sort of a game plan being played against them, and that's why there was a spontaneous reaction. People in areas like Anantnag and other places came out and protested.
The petitions were next scheduled for a hearing on the 31st of August 2018. But the centre and the state urged the court to hear the matter after the local panchayat elections scheduled for December 2018. The Supreme Court has now agreed to defer the hearing of the case to January 2019.
Whenever an issue is pending in the Honorable Supreme Court or in the High Court, people have now started fighting those that legal battle in the streets, which is not permissible in law. Whatever they decide, they have to decide in accordance with law. Whether its introduction is legally valid, sustainable or not, that issue is to be decided. It can't be decided in streets.
In Delhi, the Congress has asked for the government to put forth its views on the issue. The centre's decision to not back the state government's plea seeking dismissal of the PIL has spread uneasiness across the state. Home Minister Rajnath Singh has said that the government won't go against the wishes and sentiments of the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
कहीं पर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने इस इश्यू को लेकर न तो कोई कुछ भी इनिशिएट किया है, न कोर्ट में गई है. केवल 35A की बात मैं नहीं कर रहा हूं. हम यहां के लोगों की भावनाओं के जज्बात के खिलाफ कोई काम नहीं करेंगे.
There has been the BJP, which is now in power at the center. They have been talking of abrogating the Article 370, which from day one, if the Supreme Court strikes it down, BJP will say this is our achievement, but they will gain at the expense of India.
Time and again, this special status has been challenged by a few quarters. The challenges have come through political as well as judicial routes.
It's possible that a lot of people in India outside J&K feel that this is increasing the distance, but so far as the people of Kashmir are concerned, they feel that theirs is an independent state which was granted because of the instrument of accession far greater autonomy than the other states in the country.
Even as the case is being heard by the Supreme Court, there is a lot of misinformation associated with Article 35A. For example, a lot of people have been spreading that if someone migrates from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, for instance, Kashmiri Pandits, they lose their rights on their property in the state. That's not true. Kashmiri Pandits or anyone else who migrates from the state remains a state subject as much as anyone else.
Many question why such a debate is not taking place for other states like Himachal Pradesh and Sikkim, where too outsiders are not allowed to purchase immovable assets.
335A is not secession. It is autonomy of J&K state within the Indian Union. And this provision is there, this protection is there for other states. In, for instance, northeastern states, they are 371. You cannot buy land everywhere. Even in places like Haryana, there is some restriction on non-state residents buying land in that state. So the thing is, now they have singled out J&K. It's prejudice against J&K. It's a Muslim majority state, which is now part of the Hindu majority India. Instead of being giving the people of J&K a differential treatment, indulging them, you are telling them to merge, lose everything.
But the state of Jammu and Kashmir has often seen policies and politics being addressed to those in the Kashmir Valley, while Jammu and particularly Ladakh region is not considered.
आज की डेट में 1 लाख लोग होंगे जो 1947 में आए थे। ये लोग वहां से आए थे देश का बंटवारे के दौरान। उनमें से तो तकरीबन सारे के सारे मर गए हैं, लेकिन जो जहां जन्मे आज वो भी 70 साल के हो गए हैं, 71 साल के हुए, उनकी 3 पीढ़ियां बर्बाद हो गई, उनके बच्चे हो गए आगे, लेकिन किसी को भी जहां बाई बर्थ जो अधिकार मिलना चाहिए था वो नहीं मिला। ये सारी की सारी देन 35A की है, जबकि इंटरनेशनल लॉ ये कहता है कि जो आदमी जहां जन्म लेगा उसको वहां की नागरिकता मिलेगी। तो मैं यही कहना चाहता हूं कि जम्मू कश्मीर में कौन सा कानून है, ये किस कानून को मानते हैं? यहाँ पे इंटरनेशनल लॉ जो है उसकी भी बेइज्जती है।
I feel that both these articles take us away from our nation. So now we should try to be more close and close to our nation.
Why will my religion dictate my distinction over 35A? And also when you again bring religion into the 35A, you try to communalize it. But let me remind you, there are Sikhs, there are Christians, and there are also Buddhists living in Ladakh who support it.
We Kashmiri, we are the guardians of our places in Kashmir.
We have very limited resource in Ladakh, and whatever we are getting, we are getting through Article 35 or 370, we are getting some benefit. And secondly, Ladakh is strategically very important, very sensitive area. If the mass migration comes here, then you know it, the security implication is very dangerous for Ladakh.
We are facing problem on minority status, but we are with this 35A because it safeguards our rights. It safeguards our land, it safeguards our right to job.
ख़ुसूसी दर्जा है जिसके अंदर ये चीज़ें हैं, तो अगर ये उठाया जाएगा तो फिर बाकी जो इंडिया के जो बड़े बड़े लोग हैं, उद्योगपति हैं, पैसा वाले हैं, क्वालिफिकेशन वाले हैं, तो आके यहाँ हमारा जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी भी ख़त्म करेंगे, हमारा ज़मीन वगैरह भी ख़त्म करके, तो हम तो फिर तो हमारे लिए बहुत मुश्किल होगा।
अगर वो हटा दिया जाता है तो बाहर से आके मॉडर्नाइजेशन और हो जाते हैं, हमारे कल्चर पे इफेक्ट डालेंगे, जितने भी अभी यहाँ कल्चर हमें प्रिजर्व कर रखा है उस पे इफेक्ट पड़ेंगे।
Many believe that the provision which was meant to protect J&K's special legal status has over the years actually given the centre more power over the state, more than it exercises over any other state in the Union of India.
If, for argument's sake, this article goes, this is removed, it will have disastrous consequences. An entire population will be alienated and pushed to the wall.
That means they are just betraying us. It's the betrayal against the Kashmiris.
But it will certainly have a great repercussion on the state of Jammu and Kashmir itself, because the people of Jammu and Kashmir are likely to feel betrayed in terms of the government of India as well as the Indian Parliament and the Indian judiciary not honouring the instrument of accession.
Motivation that went into the accession, the motivation was the conviction in the Kashmiri leadership of the time that if they wish to enjoy freedom, and you know the Nara of Azadi is being raised every time, if they wish to enjoy freedom, then it is only within India that that freedom could be realized. But to be able to do that, some guarantees. And those guarantees were what were provided in 370 and 35A. If Article 370 goes, then the very definition, the very constitutional provision governing the accession of the state to India, being part of India, that itself is jettisoned. Then what do you have in its place?
Turning the term special status into an albatross around their neck.
The present situation is, as you know, a very unhappy situation, because that is at the heart of the issue. Unless you win the Kashmiris for India, then we are not going to win.